Hello. We will start with this new paper entitled as Introduction to Philosophy. This is a paper which is introduced to semester 1 for the Department of Philosophy Honours students, UGCF NEP module. In this paper, we will be discussing what is philosophy, why is it important to study philosophy, what are the traces of philosophy, and so on and so forth. We will also try to understand why is philosophy called as the love of wisdom. This is Dr. Ananya Barua, Associate Professor in the Department of Philosophy, Hindu College. Now, before commencing the formal study of philosophy, understanding that especially in our universities, there are students who come from across disciplines who barely had philosophy, it is important to introduce as to what is or why is the pedagogical necessity to understand what philosophy is. So here today we will be trying to use the pedagogical necessary to pause at certain conceptual junctions and reflect upon the direction and purpose of the intellectual journey ahead. And for this, for many enthusiastic learners who have enrolled themselves in philosophy department, philosophy understand that it represents a new and unfamiliar discipline to many. And in keeping with the NEP 2020, which emphasizes the holistic, multidisciplinary, learner-centric and purpose-driven education, this course begins as to what is philosophy, then rather than an immediate immersion into the prescribed DSE, which is the discipline specific core 1 paper, what is philosophy. Now, during this preliminary phase, students will engage with foundational reflective questions such as why should one study philosophy? How does philosophy develop higher order thinking skills in comparison with other disciplines? In what ways do Indian philosophical perspectives contribute to contemporary global intellectual and professional contexts? What career pathways and transferable skills does the study of philosophy offer? This reflective engagement is intended to cultivate critical thinking, ethical reasoning, self-awareness, and interdisciplinary understanding, all of which are key learning outcomes envisaged by NEP 2020. Now, only after students are intellectually oriented and motivated will the course proceed to the formal and systematic study of what is philosophy or introduction to philosophy as prescribed. Now, this structured progression ensures that learners do not merely acquire conceptual knowledge, but also develop the analytical competence, reflective capacity, and value-based perspective essential for higher education in the 21st century. Now, the first thing first, why study philosophy? Philosophy is the systematic and critical study of fundamental questions concerning reality, knowledge, values, mind, language, and society. That is, we begin with something what we call as intellectual reasons. So, to study philosophy, the first is the intellectual reasons. Now, what are they? The intellectual reasons develops critical thinking and logical reasoning, trains the mind to question assumptions, not merely accept information. It encourages clarity of concepts, precision of language, and argumentative rigor. Secondly, existential and human reasons. Definitely philosophy or studying philosophy helps one reflect on life, suffering, freedom, morality, death, and meaning. It cultivates self-knowledge, like Socrates' know thyself. It encourages reflective living rather than mechanical existence. Number 3, social and ethical reasons. It enables evaluation of justice, rights, power, environment, technology. It sharpens ethical judgment in personal and public life. Essential for democratic citizenship and responsible leadership. Number 4, academic and interdisciplinary value. Philosophy underlies science, religion, politics, law, psychology. All disciplines borrow philosophical assumptions, that is, about truth, method, values. In short, philosophy teaches us how to think, not what to think. So, the second question then is, who should think about studying philosophy? Philosophy is not only for specialists. It is suitable for students who enjoy asking why, not just how, are curious about abstract ideas and foundational questions like reading, writing, discussion, and debate. Future professionals in civil services, law, teaching, journalism, psychology, social sciences, technology and AI ethics, environmental studies, policy making. Creative and reflective minds such as writers, poets, thinkers, artists, those interested in meaning, values, culture, and human condition. So we see philosophy suits reflective, patient, open-minded learners, not rote learners. The third question then is, how can a beginner get familiarized with philosophy? For this, we have to understand it doesn't really come with a manual. Each has their own specific way. However, because this has been introduced in the structured format, let us try to break it down in certain steps. Step number 1, start with the big questions. What is reality? What is knowledge? What is right and wrong? What is the self? Step number 2, learn the main branches first. Begin with classifications, not dense texts. For example, metaphysics, which stands for reality, existence, self. Epistemology, which is to do with knowledge, truth, belief. Ethics, which is to do with right and wrong. Logic, correct reasoning. Aesthetics, beauty and art. Social and political philosophy is to do with justice, state, power. Step 3, read introductions, not originals first. So for someone who might be interested in knowing what philosophy is, I would say go slow. Start with the introductions like Bertrand Russell's The Problems of Philosophy, Nigel Warburton's Philosophy, The Basics. Again, there is Bertrand Russell's Introduction, which is a simple and engaging text. Or from the Indian context, we have Radhakrishnan, Hirayana, the introductory works. Step 4, compare traditions. Indian, we have Astika and Nastika schools. In Western, we have Plato, Aristotle, Descartes, Kant. Comparison makes ideas clearer. Now, the do's and don'ts for beginners in philosophy. Do's: read slowly and repeatedly. Ask questions, even naive ones. Write short reflections in your own words. Discuss ideas with others. Learn key terms and definitions carefully. Don'ts: don't memorize without understanding. Don't rush through texts. Don't expect final answers. Philosophy values inquiry. Don't confuse philosophy with religion or opinion. Don't feel discouraged by difficulty. It is normal. And confusion in philosophy is not a failure. It is the beginning of philosophy. So it is good to be confused. Then, some of the easy guides to understand philosophy is perhaps to think in arguments, not stories. For example, ask, what is the claim? What are the reasons? Are the reasons valid? Use examples from daily life. Create comparison tables between philosophers. Relate ideas to current issues like technology, environment, politics. Then the sixth step would be the question that should strike you is, how does philosophy score over other subjects? A. Foundation of all knowledge. Science asks how, philosophy asks why. Philosophy examines assumptions of every discipline. And just as a footnote, doesn't matter whoever might be in whichever discipline. For example, someone might be doing something, say, in molecular biology or nanotechnology. Eventually, he or she gets the highest degree in the form of a PhD, and a PhD is a doctorate of philosophy in nanotechnology, or doctorate of philosophy in biotechnology, or so on and so forth. So let us understand the importance of philosophy. Number 2, skill-based, not memory-based. Philosophy improves reasoning, writing, articulation. It is highly useful for competitive exams like UPSC, NET, judiciary, so on and so forth. Number C, lifelong relevance. Other subjects may become outdated. Philosophical questions remain timeless. Number 4, ethical and human depth. Philosophy uniquely addresses values, meaning, purposes. It humanizes knowledge. While other subjects train specialists, philosophy trains thinkers. And especially for our Indian students, let us understand that Teachers' Day is always being celebrated, and the very protagonist of Teachers' Day, Sri Radhakrishnan is a philosopher. So when the very ethos, or when the very basis of celebrating Teachers' Day is on a philosopher, how can we even question if philosophy is outdated? As long as teaching is alive, as long as curiosity is alive, as long as question and critical thoughts are alive, philosophy is alive. So philosophy is the disciplined pursuit of wisdom that enables human beings to think critically, act ethically, and live reflectively. It does not provide ready-made answers, but cultivates the intellectual courage to question, reason, and understand the deeper dimensions of life and reality. Now, let us see the Indian philosophical perspectives in the global market. Indian philosophy is no longer confined to textual scholarship or spiritual discourse. Its conceptual frameworks, dharma, karma, ahimsa, non-dualism, mindfulness, and ecological harmony, are increasingly shaping global ethics, leadership models, mental health practices, sustainability discourses, and AI governance. So if we talk firstly now about Indian philosophy and global ethics, we see that concepts like dharma, which is to do with duty, moral order, contextual ethics, karma, to do with responsibility and long-term consequences, ahimsa, non-violence and ethical restraint, and the global applications can be seen when one is engaged with human rights framework, conflict resolution and peace studies, corporate ethics and responsible governance, restorative justice models. So Indian ethical thought emphasizes relational responsibility, a crucial corrective to purely individualistic ethics. Now let us see Indian philosophy and the connect with leadership management. Philosophical inputs of Bhagavad Gita, we know the Karma Yoga, detached action, Nishkama Karma, leadership without ego, Loka Sangraha, welfare of the world. The market relevance, of course, is the ethical leadership training, the decision making under pressure, burnout prevention, and purpose-driven work culture. It is used in corporate leadership programs, executive coaching, and business ethics courses. Further, let's see the connect of yoga, meditation, and mindfulness industry. Philosophical roots, again, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Sankhya metaphysics, Buddhist mindfulness traditions, and the global market of course, the wellness and mental health sector, stress management programs, trauma-informed therapy, healthcare, and education. Everywhere we see the infuse of philosophy being infused. So philosophy graduates with Indian philosophy does expertise work as mindfulness consultants, curriculum designers, wellness ethics advisors. Now let's see Indian philosophy and mental health or psychology. Now philosophical contributions, the concepts of dukkha and its cessation, self as process, anatman, liberation through insight, prajna. So the application of existential therapy, narrative therapy, counseling ethics, well-being studies, and increasingly demand in clinical psychology, counseling centers, holistic mental health platforms. Environmental ethics and sustainability, Indian perspectives of Rita, the cosmic order, Prakriti Purusha, interdependence, the sacred ecology, rivers, forests, land. Global relevance, the climate ethics, indigenous knowledge system, sustainability policy, environmental education. Indian ecological philosophy offers non-extractive worldviews vital in climate governance. Now let us also see Indian logic and debate and AI. The Nyaya contributions, the theory of inference, pramanas, debate ethics, the Vada, Jalpa, Vitanda. We also have the error theory or the Khyati theory, and in contemporary use, arguments modeling in AI, epistemology of knowledge systems, cross-cultural logic studies, legal reasoning and analytics. Non-dualism, consciousness and AI debates, Advaita Vedanta, consciousness as foundational, critique of material reductionism, Buddhist philosophy from the process ontology, dependent origination, application areas of philosophy of mind, consciousness studies, AI personhood debates, neurophilosophy, Indian metaphysical models, enrich global consciousness, research beyond Cartesian frameworks. Intercultural philosophy and global education, Indian philosophy surely supports comparative philosophy, decolonial knowledge systems, interfaith dialogue, global ethics education, and there is a demand in international universities, UNESCO programs, cultural diplomacy, academic publishing. So if we look at the PPT here about the possible career pathways with Indian philosophy specialization, we see the sector of global ethics. The roles could be ethics consultant, then there for leadership and CSR, it could be a values advisor, wellness industry, mindfulness consultant, AI and tech, ethics researcher, environment, it could be sustainability ethicist, academia, of course, comparative philosopher, policy and NGOs could be a cultural analyst. So why Indian philosophy matters globally today? It matters globally because it offers holistic worldviews, balances technology with ethics, integrates self, society and nature, provides non-Western epistemologies, addresses global crisis of meaning. In the contemporary global market, Indian philosophy thus functions as a vital intellectual and ethical resource that complements technological advancement with wisdom traditions grounded in duty, harmony, and reflective consciousness. Its growing relevance across leadership, mental health, environmental ethics, and AI governance demonstrates that Indian philosophy is not a relic of the past, but a powerful framework for shaping the future. In today's rapidly changing, technology driven, and ethically complex world, philosophy has emerged not as an abstract luxury but as a high value cognitive and ethical skill set. The global market increasingly demands thinkers who can reason, evaluate, and judge, not merely technicians. So, philosophy and the knowledge economy, if we are to see, we find that the modern global economy is driven by information overload, AI, automation, ethical dilemmas without clear precedents. Philosophy trains critical reasoning, conceptual clarity, normative evaluation. These are scarce skills in a world flooded with data but lacking critical thought. Philosophy and artificial intelligence or technology, we see that AI ethics and responsible tech, where global corporations like Google, Microsoft, Meta, OpenAI, UNESCO, EU policy bodies require philosophers for algorithmic fairness, bias detection, accountability and transparency, human AI interaction norms. Philosophy surely contributes to ethics, philosophy of mind, philosophy of language, and epistemology. No AI system can be responsibly deployed without philosophical frameworks. Now, philosophy in policy, governance, and global institutions, we see that international organizations need ethical reasoning, value-based decision-making, human rights frameworks. Philosophy supports public policy analysis, political theory, justice and rights discourse, environmental ethics. So, some of the employers who have who take philosophy bent of mind students are those from the UN, UNESCO, World Bank, think tanks, and NGOs. Now let's see about philosophy and law, business, and corporate ethics. Law and jurisprudence. So philosophy strengthens legal reasoning, interpretation, moral and constitutional debates. Business ethics and leadership. Multinational corporations seek ethical governance of officers, CSR and ESG analysts, compliance and risk analysts. Philosophical skills enable long-term ethical vision, crisis decision-making, value-based leadership. Philosophy and climate change or environmental crisis, we see that climate crisis is not merely scientific, it is ethical and civilizational. Philosophy contributes environmental ethics, integrational justice, indigenous knowledge systems, sustainability frameworks. Global climate policy requires normative justification, not just data. Philosophy and global communication skills. Philosophy graduates excels in analytical writing, argumentation, public reasoning, cross-cultural dialogue. Hence, they are sought in journalism, content strategy, academia, international communication. Philosophy and adaptability in a fast-changing job market. World Economic Forum reports consistently list of critical thinking, problem solving, ethical judgment, cognitive flexibility. Philosophically or philosophy trains all of these better than any single technical subject. So philosophy graduates adapt across careers rather than becoming obsolete. Philosophy as a meta skill in the global market. Now, unlike the narrow technical skills, philosophy is transferable. Philosophy scales across sectors. Philosophy remains relevant across decades. It produces policy thinkers, ethical architects, intellectual leaders, cultural interpreters. Now, if we look at the PPT here, why global employers value philosophy, we see in this PPT about the global need and philosophical contribution, about AI and technology, the ethics, mind, language. Governance is about justice, legitimacy. Climate, environmental ethics. Business, moral reasoning. Law, argumentation, and last but not the least, media critical analysis. So, in the contemporary global market, philosophy functions as a foundational intellectual discipline that equips individuals with critical reasoning, ethical judgment, and conceptual clarity skills, indispensable for navigating technological complexity, global governance, and moral uncertainty. Far from being obsolete, philosophy has become one of the most demanding and valuable disciplines in a world that increasingly requires wise decision making rather than mere technical competence. So, we see that for the career pathways for philosophy graduates, philosophy is a skill intensive discipline that prepares graduates for diverse careers, and by cultivating critical thinking, ethical reasoning, conceptual clarity, analytical writing, and decision making, and these skills are increasingly valued across sectors in the global economy. To quickly state, in academia and research, we know teaching and higher education, lecturer, assistant professor, research scholars as PhD candidates, curriculum designer in the form where the requirements could be MA in philosophy, PhD, NET/SET in India, or equivalent internationally. Skills used could be argumentation, conceptual clarity, research writing. And there are definitely more as to the question that we are dealing in right now is how is philosophy a demanding subject in the global market today. We will be continuing more of this part in our next lecture. Stay tuned. Thank you.